All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending the first meeting of the Standing Committee on Economic Development and Tourism for the 2025 session of the General Assembly. Madam Clerk, could you, let's see, we do have a quorum, correct? All right, we're duly constituted to do business. We're going to do a little bit out of order today.
Well, we have to take the roll.
Oh, sorry, call the roll, yeah.
Senator Boswell.
Here.
Senator Gardler. Here. Senator Howe. Here. Senator Maiden.
Here.
Senator Nunn.
Here.
Senator Thomas. Senator Wilson.
Here.
Senator Wise. Senator Yates.
You're on the first floor with all the Democrats.
All right.
Come on, look. I'll come down there and sit with you. You can always change.
Vice Chair
There you go, boss.
We'd take you. No.
We'll take you.
Vice Chair Funky Frommeyer.
Present.
Chair Wheeler.
Present. Just a reminder, please silence your cell phones, and if you're interested in testifying, please use the sign-in sheet on the podium by the door. Testimony is limited to the chair's discretion based upon time constraints and information already presented. So, again, as I was saying, we're going to go a little bit out of order today and permit Senator Elkins to bring his Senate Bill 76. Please approach the chair with your guests and identify yourself for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee.
Could you have your guests identify themselves real quick?
Yes, I'm Richard Vincent, Executive Vice President of Associated General Contractors, AGC of Kentucky.
All right.
Kevin Doyle, I serve as the Chief Financial Officer.
Oh, yeah.
Not there? Okay. Sorry. Kevin Doyle, I serve as the Chief Financial Officer for Congleton Hacker Company in Lexington and Louisville, Kentucky.
All right.
And I'm
Elkins,
Senator Greg Elkins, District 28.
You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So today we're here to ask or to present a bill that would amend KRS 371.160. It's a statute that was enacted in 1990. Section 1 of this bill seeks to increase the threshold for the application of this statute. Currently, if there is a contract price for $500,000 or more for a property improvement, a project owner can hold out retainage from the contract amount. These retained funds are then placed in an escrow account. We're asking to increase the minimum threshold by which this statute would be triggered from the current minimum of $500,000 to $2 million. This is simply an effort to make an adjustment based on construction cost inflation that we've seen over the past 35 years. Also, it is important to note that this statute does not apply to contracts with cities, counties, other government entities, even including school boards. Nothing in this bill will affect those groups. Again, since 1990, subsection 1 of the KRS 371.160 has clearly stated that if a certain amount or percentage of the contract is held back by the owner, that retained amount shall be deposited in a separate escrow account with a bank or trust company. But what we've seen over the past several years are instances where projects will include, as a condition of the contract award, the contractor to waive the protection of that escrow amount. This has led to large sums of money being owed to the contractor, their subcontractors, and material suppliers for months or sometimes years. Oftentimes, the contractor will pay those costs out of his own pocket. Section 2 of this bill would amend KRS 371.405, which reinforces the existing statutory language by making any contract provision designed to waive, release, or extinguish the escrowing statute void and unenforceable. This section will ensure that the monies withheld from and rightfully owed to the contractor exists in a secure escrow account. And again, I have guests with me that are here that hopefully could help me answer questions if there are any.
Motion on the bill.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Does anybody have any additional commentary? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
I want to vote yes and support this bill to move out of committee. I do have maybe additional questions later about it. So, but I'm gonna trust Senator Elkins. He makes some pretty good bills.
Senator Funky Fromeyer.
Yes.
Senator Gardler.
Aye.
Senator Howell.
Aye.
Senator Maiden.
Yes.
Senator Nunn.
Yes.
Senator Thomas. Senator Wilson.
Aye.
Senator Wise. Senator Yates. Chair Wheeler.
Aye. Okay, I think that with a vote of
9-0.
9-0, the bill passes with favorable expression and shall proceed to the floor. So, thank you, Senator Elkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee.
All right. Next up, we will have Senator Higdon with Senate Bill 59. Senator Higdon, if you and your guests want to come up to the table, and we do have a committee substitute for this bill. Do I hear a motion on the sub? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Sub is adopted. Senator Higdon, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Jimmy Higdon, Kentucky State Senator, 14th District. Senate Bill 59 and the committee sub adds, all the committee sub adds is this, it says on existing property. The way the bill was written, I guess a church or a developer could purchase property and expand this beyond what the intention is. So the sub just says it on existing property. This bill came to me from Sister Joy and Sister Mary at the Loretta Mother House in Loretta. They had done some research on affordable housing and found that a bill was introduced in the U.S. Senate called In God's Backyard by a senator from Ohio, and it basically allowed churches to build on their property and circumvent the local zoning laws and build affordable housing on their property, with the caveat that the local governing body had to approve it. It had to be approved by the local governing body, and they would still have to follow all building codes. And so this law passed in California, Virginia, and a lot of other states have introduced it. Senator House, a very simple little bill, and it basically does that, allows for churches to build on their property, build affordable housing, and circumvent local zoning laws like parking requirements and size of the apartments and that sort of thing, and circumvent that, but still have to follow the building codes and has to be approved by the local governing body.
Make a motion, bill be approved.
Okay.
Second.
We do have a question from my co-chair, Senator Funky Fromeyer.
I'll withdraw that motion.
Thank you for bringing this, Senator Higdon. When I am trying to understand from an economic development standpoint, with the religious institution owning the property, does it affect the taxation that the city or the county might receive in the development process?
As you know, that church property is not taxable. So yes, it would be a savings for the developer or the church as far as rental property, but it would not go into the coffers of the local government. Same way if you did IRBs, industrial revenue bonds, that property becomes not untaxable when you do an IRB. These would not be taxable under not just Kentucky law but federal law.
Can I follow up? Yeah, briefly. Yes. So to have a deeper understanding, and then are these properties that are being authorized only rental properties, or are they also potentially going to be single-family homes? Is that open development by development?
You know, my original assumption is that there'd be rental units, but there's nothing in the bill that says it couldn't be individual housing and sold off as such.
And I've not heard from any of my judge executives or community leaders. In fact, I've heard favorable expression from a number of my constituents, but no one in city or county government. So that's a good sign. I just wanted to better understand it myself in case I do get questions after we approve this.
Okay,
Well,
Senator
I served
Yates.
on the.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, may I, Mr. Chairman? I served on the housing task force, and we're 200,000 units short in Kentucky. So just think of this as a 200,000 piece puzzle that we had to put together, and this is just a small piece of the puzzle. This doesn't, I make no claims that this solves our problem, but this is a part of a small piece of the solution.
Senator Yates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Senator, thank you for bringing this. I sit on the housing task force as well, and what we do with these task forces, we talk about how we may be able to work to solve a problem. We go through it, and a lot of times we don't implement the solutions they present to us because they're not a fix-all, but I think it's just another bite at this apple. Continue to work onto it. I worked when I was president of the Metro Council. I was working to do a project for veterans. It was a tiny home project that was going to be on a property, and it was shut down. We weren't able to move forward on it. And I thought, what a loss. There were so many people that otherwise are on the street. And so we depend a lot on our nonprofits, our churches, and the things to be able to do things that government can't do and be more efficient and be able to serve that purpose. So I think arming them with that resources can be valuable. And then your testimony today and understanding that it still has to go through it's still properly zoned and through the planning. I received a letter with concern saying that it was not a submission for any plans for review by a planning unit, but based on what I've seen today, I don't think that, it sounds like that's not the case. And if it was, we could tweak that out as we come forward.
I agree, and I think you'll see a lot of things added to this bill. I've had a lot. It's spurred a lot of interest. We mentioned industrial revenue bonds, IRBs. Maybe can they be used in this type of development, and not necessarily for the churches. I'm talking about all affordable housing. So I think there's going to be a lot of things, a lot of interest in this bill. A lot of other people have good ideas. I have received a lot of positive feedback. The city of Lexington, the mayor says the city of Lexington supports it. I haven't heard anything from the city of Louisville Metro Council. This does kind of put an onus on their back to instead of the zoning board passing something, the Metro government, Metro Council would have to put their seal of approval on it, but it's part of the process.
That's right. Thank you.
Senator Boswell.
Just follow up on Senator Frankie Promeyer's comments regarding the taxing. Some be exempt, but there'll be a lot of taxes that will not be exempt, and that's going to be a great benefit for our communities. Occupational taxes, net profit taxes, payroll taxes, other things that are not going to be taxed. That's going to be a good point about this project. Thank you, Senator Higgin, for bringing this bill.
And Senator, I guess one of the comments by Senator Funky Fromeyer actually got my wheels turning a little bit in my head, and I know when I lived in Germany for a year that the churches in that country own large tracts of property, and actually my best friend over there lived in a home in a developed neighborhood of houses that were basically on a 100-year lease from the church, the building lot, and they would build their house on it and everything. I guess a question going to Senator Funky Fromeyer's point is, you're talking about apartments, but if it did get into individual homes that, say, if they entered into leases with folks to build these things, how do you think that would potentially impact the collection of school taxes as far as the people living in homes, whose children would be going to the local school system, that if they lived in a home that was not on the religious property would not be exempt and contributing, partially to the tax base here? Could you foresee that potentially being an issue if a religious institution got into kind of a single-family home development project along the lines that I outlined there?
Well, my first thought would be that, your local governing body has to approve this. And obviously they would look at that issue a lot closer than the Kentucky General Assembly would. And maybe, this is a process. I believe in the process as it goes from committee to the Senate floor, then over to the House and the House committee. that changes are made. It's this is just the beginning. So have no problem with amendments and other ideas. I just think that it's a good start. It's a good place to, and I really want
To
say
be clear,
again,
I wholly support the bill and intend on voting yes.
I want to say again, I really appreciate the ladies that Sister Joy and Sister Mary that called me up and said, we want to meet with you. We have an idea. We heard you were on the Housing Task Force. We've got an idea we want you to pursue. So thanks to them for getting me to this point.
Make a motion, bill be approved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Senator Boswell.
Aye.
Senator Funky Farmeyer.
Yes.
Senator Girdler.
Aye.
Senator Howe. Senator Maiden.
Oh. Oh, I do apologize, ma'am. Please, let's see, are you Miss Kelly? Okay, do I have a
I withdraw my
withdrawal or motion? Okay, withdrawal, okay. And I apologize, ma'am. Please come up. Yes, you can sit next to Senator Higdon. He doesn't bite. Okay, you need to turn your microphone on there. Identify yourself for the
good?
record.
I'm Destiny Kelly. I'm in Henry County, one of the counties that's going to be negatively affected by this bill. When you couple this bill with HB 18, it will essentially violate private property owners' rights as well as put discriminatory housing as our only housing option. Religious organizations are allowed to discriminate based on their religion. So in these small rural counties like Henry County, where I live, with a completely Republican government who spent the entire summer breaking state law to steal from my organization, you are going to put discriminatory housing in counties that already don't have enough housing. In a state that is so rural, these counties that this is going in are more predominantly poorer counties with less investment in education, and they don't actually understand the bill that you all are trying to push. These multi-family housing units from these religious organizations will be tax exempt. Who is going to contribute to our roads, our bridges, and emergency services for all of those new residents? The people that live there already, the poor residents of the county that have lived there for hundreds of years and are being forced out by elitism and neoliberal housing tactics that actually create a bigger problem in areas that are cut off from being able to know what's going on. This bill is horrible for 6 different counties in Kentucky. 6 counties in Kentucky are only going to have multi-unit housing that is religious based. HB 18 will make it to where we can't change our planning and zoning laws, but SB 59 will allow only religious organizations to circumvent them and then not pay taxes and discriminate.
Senator Maiden has a question for you, if you would please
Yeah.
direct your attention towards
Can you
that.
describe discriminatory housing units to me? I don't follow that exactly.
Religious organizations by federal law are allowed to discriminate. So if you are gay, a unwed mother, if you don't follow that religious ideology, which, for example, say it's Christian, only 50% of people in this state are actually Christian. So this religious organization can discriminate on who is allowed to have a home and who is not allowed to have a home in rural Kentucky.
We have a brief follow-up from Senator Yates. Briefly, Senator.
Absolutely. I'll be brief. And thank you for your comments today and your passion. When I look at these type of issues, you're always trying to balance. And so when I looked at the Housing Task Force onto it, we have issue of not enough housing. And so when I look at that, I realize that we're not taking one housing and putting to another. We're really creating a gap fill. And so when some people had brought to my attention and said, well, maybe they're the nonprofits, because I'm co-chair of the nonprofit caucus too, some of the nonprofits wouldn't be paying into additional taxes. I also looked at these monster corporations and developers that we're giving tax credits and incentives. We're actually giving them your tax dollars to gap fill to have them build into it. So if we can get nonprofits to provide the work that we can't do as government, because we look at the homeless and addiction services, all these things that they can provide because it's different. That's that balance. What it makes me feel safer. What makes me feel safer is that this provides for a level of local control. So the local area, I represent Louisville, and so it would go through the council. So and I like local control, so they can put together those safeguards in place. So for that reason, I would be a yes vote, and look forward to working with you to make this thing right.
I understand that we are short 200,000 houses. Well, 238,000. Actually, I am on a
right.
statewide coordinated housing campaign.
Ma'am,
but
we have a motion and a
installing
second.
discriminatory housing is doing harm.
All right, we have a motion and a
not
second on the
solving
bill. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Funky Furmeyer.
I'm going to say aye, but would like to explain my vote.
Certainly. You have 2 minutes.
We acknowledge what you're presenting to us today, and what I appreciate is that there are local controls, and we do want to drive more local decisions so that we're not understanding Henry County as well as you ever could understand Henry County. So I do appreciate, and if there are other additions that you might suggest, please get with one of us here on the committee, as Senator Higdon is open to additions to this bill that might make it an excellent bill if you don't feel currently that it's an excellent bill. So thank you for being here today.
Senator Gardler. Senator Gardler. Senator Howe.
Aye.
Senator Maiden. Senator Nunn. Senator Thomas. Senator Wilson.
Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to vote aye because I'm in a community that we have what's called Room at the Inn for the homeless. All of our churches participate in that. They do not discriminate against anybody based on any belief system. They open their doors, they invite them all in, they sleep there, they feed them. We also have the Salvation Army that provides housing for them, and they do not discriminate either. And so I don't see that as much of a problem as you suggest that there might be, so I vote aye.
Senator Wise. Senator Yates.
So,
Yes, sir.
some of the reasons mentioned, but also, first of all, for bringing the attention, because this doesn't end the bill. This is how the process works through committee. So if there are particular things that you'd like to, I've worked with Senator Higdon for a long time. He's always been open-minded. If there's certain areas that you think protections that should be written into this bill, present those, and we'll discuss that. Also, I like to talk with my local people at home to see what potentially could be put in place. But that's how we get good legislation. But I do want to say thanks for being here, but also that it's not over. This is a work in progress, as you heard today. Thank you.
Chair Wheeler.
I vote aye. The bill passes with favorable expression 9-0 and shall proceed to the floor. Thank you, Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
And Senator Funky Fromeyer, if you could assume the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Wheeler. I believe that you've got something very interesting to share with us today. Would you please introduce yourself and also have your guest introduce him?
Yes, Philip Wheeler, 31st Senate District.
Microphone.
I know you might be new at this,
To
but
follow
we just
my
need
own
you
rules,
to
yeah.
brightly
Senator Wheeler,
put-
31st Senate District.
TJ.
And I'm Scott Alvey. I'm the Executive Director at the Kentucky Historical Society.
Scott,
All
I'm
right.
glad to see you.
Yes, good to see you as
Thanks for being here.
well. Of course.
Okay, Senate Bill 313, as my colleague Senator Higdon likes to say, is just a simple little bill. And it is a very simple little bill. It's a one-line change to say that the month of June shall be Kentucky History Month. And as our great Commonwealth that was founded in 1792 has a long and wonderful and quite colorful history, I think that it is incumbent upon us as the General Assembly to make sure that that history is imparted to our students and young people throughout the Commonwealth so that these great stories of Kentucky history continue to be told and even future stories continue to be told as the history unfolds.
Motion on the bill.
Oh, well, with that being said, I think my compatriot here, Mr. Alvey, would probably like to make a short statement.
I will make it very short. I always appreciate the opportunity to talk about Kentucky history. I have the privilege of representing the members of the Kentucky Historical Society. We've been a historical society, as some of you know. Some of you are on the Kentucky History Caucus. We've been a historical society since 1836, and our goal is to how do we not only collect, but how do we make Kentucky history accessible? So a big part of my job, the wonderful part of my job, is I get to spend all day trying to figure out how do we make Kentucky history accessible to everybody else and aware of the rich history. Just walking into the room today, I had a couple people come up to me and wanting to tell me about their local stories. I've spoken to some of you about your local history at your places, and so we spend every June, on June 1st, we talk about Statehood Day for Kentucky. We also talk about Boone Day on June 7th, and the Historical Society has kind of gathered that into a day celebration that we began at the beginning of June, Kentucky History Day, and started talking about as we approach the US 250 coming up in 2026, about can we take this and draw attention to the value of Kentucky history as it leads into our nation's celebration, and you've seen celebrations on your legislative moments as you've started this session. How can we make this a celebration of Kentucky history all month long, and then leading up to the celebration of July 4th for our nation's celebration? So thank you all very much for considering this.
Are there any other questions for this discussion? I do have one, Mr. Alvey. When we think about all 120 counties, if this bill passes, what difference would that make, and how would that represent itself throughout Kentucky?
Yeah, great question. So as we're, one of the wonderful things about the 250th, and I know we've talked about the US 250th and the work that we're doing on that end, we're hoping to capture that moment where back during the bicentennial, for those of you that remember the bicentennial, it raised awareness of local history. So not just our nation's history, but the history that evolves within the entire Commonwealth. There are 300 and something historical organizations that range from genealogy groups all the way up to museums like ours. So this would help us create that platform for celebration of all of Kentucky's history across all 120 counties. As we're working through on this 250 celebration, we're looking at targeting not just like tourism districts, but also at the county level. So we're working with all different elements to try to figure out how do we, and actually this idea of the Kentucky History Month came about in partnership with these other organizations around the state of could we use the whole month period to help highlight across the state as opposed to trying to do it all on one day? 365 days.
I do believe we have a motion on the bill. Do we have a second? Second. And we have a second. All right, Sasha, would you call the roll?
Senator Boswell. Aye. Senator Funky Fromeyer.
Aye.
Senator Gardler.
Aye.
Senator Howell.
Aye.
Senator Maiden.
Aye.
Senator Nunn.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Senator Wilson.
Aye.
Senator Wise. Senator Yates.
Aye.
Chair Wheeler.
Aye.
I believe Senate Bill 313 passes with favorable expression. And that same should pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quit bringing such tough legislation, Philip.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?